Hello, everybody. Okay, welcome to today's midday recharge session with the one and only Jessica Bayers, aka the Abundance Babe. I'm Ciara Martin, and I'm so excited you're here, whether you're joining us on Instagram Live or on Zoom. We've been counting down to this since December, and trust me, today is worth the wait. Jessica has this incredible ability to help us reframe what abundance means beyond just stacking cash, which surely has its place, but also tapping into true joy, fulfillment, and those magical hell yes moments. Before we dive in, go ahead and grab your coffee, cozy up, let's settle in. We're going to start with 10 minutes of grounding breath work. You're probably in the middle of your day. Maybe you're in full chaos already. And so I want us to center, to calm down, and prepare for an amazing session. Good to see you, Devaya and Kayla, on Instagram Live. So we're going to do breath work for 10 minutes. We're going to center, we're going to land where we are today. And then I will show you my interview with Jessica, which will be about 30 minutes. And we're going to talk about reframing your abundance mindset. So powerful, especially right now with all the chaos going on in the world. It's easy to get into a fear-based mindset, and abundance really can help us shift that and find joy in the present moment. So you're really going to love this. And at the end, Jessica is going to hop on live and she'll be answering any questions you have. So I want you to drop any questions you have about abundance in the chat on the live or the Zoom, and we'll go ahead and get started. So first, for our breathwork session, I want you to find a nice tall spine. So usually for me, that means scooting forward on my chair so that just my sit bones are on the very front of my chair. And I can sit, you want to imagine you're sitting in a throne, right? So you have that proud, long, tall spine, your collarbones spread, and your shoulders stack on top of your hips. Your head sits at the very top of a long line of vertebra. You can imagine you're hanging from a string, right? Suspended there. And go ahead and bring your eyes to close or just a soft, gentle gaze. Feet on the floor, hip width, hands on top of the thighs. We're going to inhale through the nose. Exhale, sigh through the mouth. Two more times. Breathing in through the nose, sighing out through the mouth. Feel the earth under your feet, maybe your socks or shoes encasing your feet. Draw your attention up the legs, calves, and shins, noticing any sensation in your knees, quads, or hamstrings. Can you feel the chair under your sit bones? Bringing your attention to your belly, noticing if it rises or falls with the breath. Tension moves up to the heart space, feeling the ribs as they expand in all three-dimensional space with every inhale, contracting with the exhale. Can you even feel your heartbeat? Tension moves down the arms, all the way to the hands and the fingertips. Perhaps you can even feel a tingling sensation. And up the arms to the neck, jaw, releasing any tension you find there. Maybe taking a few neck circles. Forehead, cheekbones, nose, back of head, crown of head, feeling your entire body at once. And I want you to take the 3 breaths. We're going to take them in and out of the nose, and I want them to be the slowest, longest, and fullest breaths you've taken of the day. Okay? So letting any air out and slowly breathing in through the nose. First in the belly, then the ribs, and the chest. Continue to sip in air as much as you can. And then slowly releasing the air through the nose. First the chest, ribs, and then last all the way to the bottom of the belly, to your sit bones, releasing any air in the body. And then reversing and repeating, breathing in slowly through the nose, belly, ribs, chest. Sip in as much air as you can. Slowly, gently let that go through the nose, chest, ribs, and belly. And one more time at your own pace. Deep breath in and up. And slowly release. Just notice any shifts that have already started to occur in your body, in your mind, and thoughts, in your emotional state. And we're going to take a couple rounds of alternate nostril breathing. And this type of breath is known to calm the nervous system. It's great for the middle of the day when we can feel a little frazzle dazzled. Taking your right thumb to the right nostril, the index and middle finger to the third eye, and pinky ring finger to the left nostril. We're going to start by closing the right nostril, breathing in through the left. Close the left nostril. Open the right, breathe out through the right. Breathe in through the right. Close the right. Open the left, breathe out through the left. Breathe in through the left. Close the left nostril. Open the right. Breathe out through the right. In through the right. Close the right nostril. Open the left. Out through the left. In through the left. Out through the right. In through the right. Out through the left. Continue at your own pace without my cues. Imagining white, bright stream of light coming in with the breath, holding it at the third eye, then coming out the other nostril with the exhale. The mind wanders, just bring it back to the breath, the sensations in the body. One more breath. And we want to end with an exhale on the left side. When that's complete, put your hands on your lap again and just take a moment. Acknowledge anything that's shifted. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Take a couple neck rolls or shoulder shrugs, just coming back to your body. And when you're ready, slowly, gently open your eyes. Welcome back. I feel completely shifted. I hope you do too. I am now going to play our share with you this wonderful interview that I had with Jessica. So bear with me for one moment while I work through the technical aspects of sharing on two different devices. Okay. Share sound. Okay. All right, lovelies. Let's get you Instagram Live so you can see my screen. And please put any questions you have in the chat as we go through the interview. And Jessica's going to be on live to answer them afterwards. So here we go. How's that look? I think that looks pretty good. All right, folks, let's get going on this.
Well, thanks for being here, Jessica. I'm really excited to talk to you tonight. It's in the evening because life. You gotta squeeze it in when you can. But what I wanted to sit down and talk to you about today was abundance because, as you know, this summit is really focused on working moms and working moms, working women, middle age, like we are often on the struggle bus because got a lot on our plate. There's a lot of feelings. Like I talk to my peers, it's like overwhelmed, stressed out, not enough time, like um anxiety, all these things are like common words that come up when I speak to these women. And we're interviewing a lot of different folks at the summit to like kind of give people a toolkit and learn about like where to start. Because when you're overwhelmed, you're like, I don't know, just tell me what to do. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
I don't have time to think about it. Just like tell me what to do. And I think the work you're doing is really beautiful because you're helping people shift their mentality so that um they can come at things from a different place that are a little bit more spacious. And I know your focus is on abundance. So I'm going to stop talking for a moment and I would love if you could start with explaining your definition of abundance and how it's relevant to what you offer in your business.
Yeah. Well, first, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be,
Yes, of
and
course.
I'm excited to be doing this. My personal definition of abundance is more about it being a quality rather than a quantity. So if you look up abundance on Google or whatever in the dictionary, it talks about something that's plentiful or a lot, right? It talks about it in terms of a quantity. And I try to tell people that the feeling of abundance is not about quantity. You can actually easily tell that you're in scarcity if you are thinking about it in terms of quantity, anything,
Mm,
resources. So, the five resources that we all have access to, one of them is
mm-hmm,
money. That's usually how people kind of equate
mm-hmm.
abundance to is with money.
Or most people
Um,
would say that they don't have access to
yes,
scarcity mindset.
yes. Yes. So whether you are in a scarcity or abundance mindset,
Okay,
you
these are the
in relation,
resources. Okay,
yeah, to these five resources. So it could be money, time, attention, vitality, or knowledge.
okay.
And abundance
Okay, slower
is
this time, slower this
okay.
time.
Okay. Sorry. Okay.
So
The
excited.
five
Okay.
resources
Uh-huh.
that you can relate to either in scarcity or abundance
Okay.
are time,
Hmm.
money, vitality, knowledge, and attention.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to go deeper here.
Well, you asked what my definition of abundance is, and I'll just,
Yeah,
the short
that's
version is
beautiful. I love that
equality.
framing. Yeah, okay. So those are the resources that we can either feel that we have abundance or lack of.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So often, money is the byproduct of feeling abundant, but
Hmm.
there are so many, like I mentioned, there's so many different resources that we can come at it from. And I like to think of, whenever I'm working with clients, I like to think of abundance work like a Jenga tower, and you want to press on the parts that feel easy to move. So many
Mm.
people that I have, heard from in my own abundance journey, in my own like escape
Hmm.
from thinking, being stuck in a scarcity mindset, talk about affirmations. They talk about gratitude journals. They talk about like
Hmm.
visualization, which are all really useful tools. But some of us are so deeply stuck in scarcity mode because our nervous
Hmm.
system is completely dysregulated, because our schedules are so full, so packed, we're
Yeah,
so
gross.
overwhelmed,
Eh.
like you said. Yeah. And the affirmations and the gratitude journal,
Yeah, you just
it's
want to
just
be
like,
like, stick it up your ass. Like,
yeah, it's just
you're just
not
not
like,
ready for it. You're not
yeah,
there. I don't know, a lot of the
yes,
time. Like,
exactly. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then where are the other pieces in the puzzle? What are some other things that you found like perhaps more accessible to your clients? Or maybe you could tell a little bit about your story and how you kind of made this shift. Because I know it's something that you didn't just kind of like pick up along the way, right? It's something you learned the hard way.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good question. So, for the last, well, I wouldn't say for the last 10 years, but 10 years ago, in 2014, it's 2024 right now.
Mhm.
I was living at home. Believe it or not, I was 19 years old. I was a freshman in college, and my mom came
Bless your
downstairs
heart.
and she she said I've got some bad news for you. And I thought, okay, if I can guess the worst thing that she could possibly say, then no matter what she says, like I'll be fine. And I was like, we're broke, we lost the house, and we have to move in with our grandparents. And she said, yep. And so from that point on, and that so to give
So
you a
you
little bit of
you had
context,
some hint that the things were kind of unraveling.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
In the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis, my dad went from making, and he was the primary breadwinner. My mom didn't work a paying job. She worked her ass off, but
Yes.
um, he went from making $121,000 a year to $36,000 a year in 3 years. So
Yeah.
they started to panic, and the world was panicking during the 2008
Yeah,
financial
I
crisis.
remember.
And this is why I talk about having a regulated nervous system is a key piece to abundance, because I saw firsthand what happens when you're not able to regulate your nervous system. And
Mm.
for people who, that's like a general phrase that's used.
I don't know. I was just gonna
I
pause
studied
you there. I was like, let's talk about this regulated nervous system is such like what would be like a catchphrase right now or like a hot
like a buzzword.
topic. Yeah, a buzzword. So, but I still feel like we think of it as a buzzword, you and I, because we're in the wellness community, but I feel like a lot of people haven't yet heard this term, or maybe they've heard it and they don't know what it means. So, could you explain what you mean when you say regulated nervous system? Yeah.
Um, so that neuroscience is the study of the nervous system, which is comprised of the brain and the spinal cord. And
Hmm.
when we talk about nervous system, or when I talk about nervous system regulation, the job of your nervous system is essentially to um, interpret information in your environment, so external stimuli, and to translate that into a physiological response within the body. And a dysregulated nervous system is one that interprets external stimuli, information from your outside environment, and translates that into a like not normal response, a heightened response, or a depressed response. So too much of something
Yeah.
or too little. So with when it comes to abundance and an abundance mindset versus being in a scarcity mindset means that you're operating from a dysregulated nervous system. So and that illustrated beautifully that there are signs that will help point you to whether or not you are in a scarcity mindset or an abundance mindset, or you can call it a
That's
regulated nervous
interesting.
system
I
or a
never thought
dysregulated
of
nervous
like
system.
a scarcity mindset being a symptom of a dysregulated nervous system. But as soon as you say it, I'm like, duh. Yes, I'm like, yeah, when I've had a scarcity mindset, I've also been in the state where I have a dysregulated nervous system. That makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense.
And so depending on how you were raised, your default might lean towards abundance or scarcity. Long story short,
Wild.
I dropped out of school because I ran out of money. I was working at Wonder Press in Boulder, making $10 an hour.
Hmm.
And I really wanted to get my yoga teaching certification. And this was one of the biggest catalysts for me transitioning into an abundance mindset, because I didn't, for one of the few times in my life, I didn't look at a program based on price. I looked at it based on like, is this what I want? Does this have the quality of the
Mm.
teacher that I want? Does this have like the things that I want to learn about? I want to learn more about like, you know, the philosophy of yoga and the myths and the gods and the
Hmm.
goddesses. And I found someone who was incredible, but the training was, of course, more expensive than any of the trainings in Boulder. And
Yeah,
I was like,
naturally.
yes, it's like
You're
I'm
like, but
doing it.
this
I
is
don't
the one
care.
I have to go to. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so I did it. It totally changed my life and slowly started to increase my income. Slowly started to increase my opportunities. And through that period of time after graduating, I started to reflect and think about like, where do I want to go? What do I want? And I decided, okay, I do want money. Like, money is going to make my life a
Yeah.
lot easier, and I need to stop
Yeah.
resenting it. And that's so. Your question was like, how did you switch from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset? The biggest moment that changed things for me was I read Rachel Rogers' book, We Should All Be Millionaires. And I just
Mm.
thought, all right, if, and I don't know if you know Rachel Rogers, she's
I
awesome.
don't.
Like,
I'm like, I'm gonna have to put a link to that in this for folks.
yes, like
And I'm gonna
she
have to read
is,
it.
no, dude, she's a
Which I love.
powerhouse.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, if Rachel Rogers can give me permission to want to be rich, like, then I'm gonna start making some money now.
Hmm.
And that's like really what changed it for me. you just said, like, I had challenges, and this is one thing that I think is unique about my approach is that there are people out there who are mindset coaches, who are abundance coaches, or people who work in that
Mm-hmm.
realm. And to me, it has felt that their work has often been a little bit tone deaf to the
Yeah.
challenges that people face. And just
Mm-hmm.
like you mentioned, it's like we all face challenges, and we don't need to
Yeah.
win the trauma Olympics. Like, nobody gets a
No,
medal
no,
for
thank
that.
you.
So it's like everybody has their own unique set of challenges. And the way that I approach my work is through that lens of, okay, you can't just spiritually bypass over these things that you've experienced. Like, you can't just
Mm-hmm.
manifest your way through these challenges in your life. You have to address and accept that, like, okay, this, yeah, like, there's a limiting factor of the number that's in your
Like,
bank account
I'm
to the
always going to be
knowledge
a
that you
woman.
have. Yeah,
Like, that's just the cards I was dealt. There's
exactly.
nothing I'm gonna
Yes.
do to change that. Like, I'm just,
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
the way how I am.
Yeah. Yes. And like,
Yeah.
there might be a limitation to the kinds of people or the knowledge you have access to, or,
Yeah.
well,
Or my
it's,
safety net.
yeah, exactly. And so
Yeah. Like, you
I
didn't
take an
have
approach.
one, really.
Yes. Yeah,
Not
exactly.
financially.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
I take an approach of addressing and assessing, okay, what are the real obstacles that you have in your life? But what are the real opportunities that you're not seeing? And what
Mm.
my experience has taught me is that from being very financially restricted in my life previously, like in the last 10 years, I have gotten so fucking resourceful, like so resourceful. And I am really good. So yeah, I just wanted to zoom in on what you said about the challenges, because it's a real thing.
Mm.
And the people who are watching this right now, a lot of them are moms and have real challenges where
Yeah,
time is
it's
huge,
hard.
and the attention, people don't talk about that resource. Mom's
Yeah.
attention are like very limited because your attention is on
And
everyone else.
everybody wants it.
Yes. Yes. So
Mom. I would love, okay, so one thing you started to hint at, and I think that's like so cool about the work you're doing because I've never heard of anybody else doing this, but I also don't know a lot about this space, is that you're pulling tarot in to this like abundance coaching. And I don't think that like those are typically used together.
yeah, so the work like that I do right now one-on-one with my clients is through tarot reading sessions. And I really like that you brought up all the things that people usually associate with tarot,
I'm like,
because
oh, okay.
you are you're correct. You're correct.
You're like,
It's
okay, you're off the deep end. Like,
yes.
you're just not in touch with reality.
Yeah. Well, and I forget, like, it's small incremental steps, and then all of a sudden you're like
Yeah.
tarot cards, you're like, oh wait, what happened?
Yeah. I
And
mean, I
so,
have a tarot deck now, but also that's another conversation.
for anybody who's listening to this right now, if you practice yoga, that's the gateway drug. This is where you'll
Yeah.
find.
Sorry, not sorry.
So
You may also live in your dream location with your
yeah.
dream job, but you'll have a
So
tarot deck. That's the rub.
but um okay, so depending on who you ask, I'm sure other people would describe tarot differently, but the way that I use tarot
Hmm.
is just a self-reflection tool. So the tarot deck is
Beautiful.
comprised of these archetypes that we see played over and over again in life. Like if you watch a movie, you see the same kind of characters, villains, whatever. So there's two parts of the tarot deck: uh, the major arcana and the minor arcana. And what you just pointed out is the minor arcana. It
Okay.
mimics and emulates a regular deck of playing cards.
Okay, interesting.
The only difference is, instead of Jack, Queen, and King, there's four. There's the Queen, King, Page, and Knight. So
All
that's one.
right.
And then the minor arcana deck, or part of the deck that we're talking about right now, has to do with more minor details in your life to pay attention to. It has to do with a more zoomed in look at your life. Whereas if you pull
Mm-hmm.
a major arcana card, it usually is like, you need to look at this. Like, you
Okay.
need to address this because it is not going away. This is a pattern that is showing up in your life that needs to be addressed. Or it could mean, you've addressed this pattern fully and your life is about to change
Okay.
dramatically.
But it's like
So,
an overarching like theme, issue, whatever, versus like a in the moment kind of transient
yeah,
thing.
like, you know,
I don't know, for
I
lack
think
of
what you're
better
trying to get
term.
at is that it's not like you can ask the tarot deck. I mean, you can technically do whatever you want because you're a person with
Sure.
free will, but it's not like you can ask the tarot deck, like, what should I make for dinner tonight? Like, it's not like
Yeah.
a magic 8 ball, like,
No.
but what's the most important, what I've learned weirdly through my sales experience, because I work in sales right now, is that you get better information from the tarot deck, the better the questions that you can ask. And so
Hmm.
that's, and then being able to interpret the information from the cards in relation to your situation that you're in right now. So that's what my role is, because anybody, like, you have a tarot deck, you can read the cards, you can read the definitions. Everybody's fully capable of doing that themselves. But what I do is I use it as a tool for helping people understand what their unique abundance blueprint is. So,
Mm.
at the beginning of my sessions, I'll ask people, what what does abundance mean to you? What do you want that to look like in your life? And then we formulate 5 questions that we would ask the tarot deck, in order to get some clarity about how to, tap into their unique abundance blueprint.
Okay, and then what kind of do you have any like examples you could or case studies, if you will, from the neuroscience world of like what you've kind of seen with folks so far and where it's opened things up or maybe like helped them, yeah, see things from a different perspective?
Yeah, so some of the clients that I've been working with recently, um, it's like they always come for one thing and then they leave with seemingly unrelated tasks to do. So at the end, we come up with a, um, inspired action plan. So something that feels
Ooh,
like
love that.
what you want to do, not just like this is what you should do. Um,
Yeah. So the Jenga, coming back to the Jenga, like things that feel
yeah,
like you could do and you want to do, not you have to do or should do.
mhm. Things that feel like they have easy movement in their lives.
So you mentioned, I want to dig more into these like different abundant mindsets and like, you know, so we talked about abundance, we talked about scarcity, but I assume it's like a spectrum, right? Like you're not just like abundant or you're scarce all the time. So like, how do you know where you're at and like where you need to work other than like meeting with you for
Yeah.
tarot?
No, this is okay. This is a really good question. I I I don't know that I would describe it as a spectrum. I'm sure that
Mm,
is true in some sense, but I like to think of it back to those 5 resources, and I like to think
hmm.
about it in terms of like these buckets.
Okay.
So, um, everybody
Like
has,
how balanced are the buckets or something? Or
yeah, like a
full?
water level within each bucket.
Okay.
And we can't, so there's a lot of conversations around balance, and it's just really, we're
It
never
doesn't
going to
feel
have
like
this,
it's helpful.
we're never going to have the same amount of water in our buckets, but we don't want the buckets to get empty. And
Yeah.
once we're able to tap into a space of overflow consistently within at least one bucket, it will flow over to the other
And like
ones.
feed the others. Okay.
Mhm. So Coming back to that Jenga tower analogy, so let's say somebody's feeling really scarce with time. And so they try
Hmm.
to say, okay, I need more time management skills. I need to have a
You
planner.
need
I
to
need to,
like time block and
yeah, yeah, or I need to have like better boundaries, which is all true. But I've found that the more like, I guess, intuitive or easeful way to approach this is to find which bucket feels the most abundant to you. Like,
mm,
do you feel abundant in your money? Do you feel abundant in your knowledge? Do you feel abundant in your vitality? Do you feel
mm,
abundant in, right? Like in your attention?
yeah.
And enter from that point in order
Ooh.
to then kind of pull on the threads of the rest of them because they're all connected. All the limiting beliefs, all the scarcity mindset,
Hmm.
all of the kind of negative experiences we have with our resources are all related. So if you address one of them, it'll start to unravel all the problems around the other
Okay,
area.
so let's say I I feel like a lot of the moms I work with, like they're in a place where financially they're stable and they're able to kind of like have more or less what they want financially. You know, you could always want more, but like, they feel comfortable. They've gotten to that place. They're not poor grad students anymore. A lot of us are scientists, but they don't have any time. So
Yeah.
like, how do you take that abundance? Like, yeah, I'm working my ass off, so I don't have any time, but I have money. So like, how would you flow that down or over?
Yes. Okay, good question. So, the underneath question of that is time for what? And this really comes down to
Mm,
your unique abundance blueprint because what feels abundant or what makes you feel abundant is going to be different from maybe what makes me feel
so we're
abundant.
talking about values, is what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So,
I
um,
so agree. Yeah.
so if you feel scarce around time, you got to ask yourself, and it's for any of the resources. It could be money, it could be attention. What do you feel like you don't have time for?
Are you
So,
living true to your values? That's what I hear with that. You're a different phrasing, or getting that's the layer beneath the layer.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that because I actually have a worksheet that I've created on how to
No,
find
okay.
your values, just
Can
in
we
terms.
share that with
I
the
was going to
folks
say we can
listening?
add
Okay,
that to
awesome. Great,
the
great,
notes.
great.
So let's play off this mom who doesn't have time.
Yeah.
Let's. What does she want time for?
Typically, it's quality time with their children and their partner, and then time to like get everything done so that I can then relax.
Okay. Okay. This is perfect. This is
So,
so
yeah. So,
good.
yeah.
I'm glad you said this because I was thinking they probably a lot of their times are probably spent on chores around the house,
Yeah.
cooking.
Or that they're sometimes you don't even get to the chores.
Hmm. So
Yeah.
if your if the person we're talking about, this mom, has uh, feels abundant in their financial resources, the first thing
Hmm.
that I would say is um, pay somebody to do those chores to give you back that time. But the
Yes. Yeah.
caveat is if you don't address your values and you get that time, you're going to use that time in the same
Yeah.
way that you
Don't
had it.
just scroll on Instagram.
So you have to be intentional about, and this is where the fun part comes
Mm.
in
So it's
because
like, okay, I've got 3 more hours a week because I'm hiring somebody to do the dishes. Like a mother's helper comes in and does the dishes or whatever it is. And then like making sure that when they're there doing that, or that you set aside that time in some way to like do what quality time, or in this example would be quality time, is what they feel that they're lacking.
yes. And then
Okay.
we could dive in a bit deeper about what does quality time with your child or your partner look like if
Mm-hmm.
that's what they're craving.
Yeah.
And sitting down and writing. So this is the manifestation part of this.
Mm-hmm.
Manifestation is just is this like a fluffy way of saying setting goals, but for
Mm-hmm.
me, I never really liked the like SMART goal thing. So I been drawn more towards the idea of abundance or manifesting, because manifesting is just like a sparkly way of setting goals. So,
Yes.
um, when you're
It's
thinking,
like feminine goal setting.
yeah, it's way
Yeah,
more fun. It's way more
it's
fun.
way more fun. Yeah.
So I would encourage this person to sit down, and this is where the journaling practice can become really useful, is to write down in detail the tastes, the smells, the
Oh yeah.
textures, the sounds, the phrases, everything that is associated with this quality time experience. And
Hmm.
it'll be so much easier to make happen because now you're priming your brain for cognitive bias.
Hmm.
You're probably familiar with. It's basically like when you're car shopping for a red Toyota Tacoma, you start seeing them everywhere. That's what the journaling
Hmm.
does, is that it will see opportunities for quality time if you start to visualize it.
Okay. So tell me more about this. Is there anything else you want to share about this bonus that you're going to offer people? This it was quiz, right?
Yeah, so we just talked about the values worksheet. I'll include that.
Okay.
Another bonus that I have for your audience is a archetype, um, an abundance archetype quiz.
Okay.
So, as I mentioned a few times in this conversation, everybody's abundant life looks a little bit different.
Hmm.
I have 5 different archetypes that I feel encompass the different kind of
I mean,
abundance.
5 resources, 5 archetypes. It like feels right.
Yes. So, the 5 different
Okay.
archetypes are: one, the sacred heart;
Hmm.
two is, oh, looking at my document here, and I got a lot. The free spirit. The
Ooh.
third one is the trailblazer. The fourth one is the grounded guardian, and
Mm.
fifth one is the mystic. And
These are beautiful. I love it. Are these yours? Okay, wonderful. Love it. Okay.
so I found these based on just the work that I've done with my clients and
Hmm.
a lot of the women that have showed up in my women's circles, because I realized that for me, I'm a lot like, I'm the free spirit. That's my archetype. And I'm like, I a very anti 9 to 5 job. Like, I have a 9 to 5 job right now. And I'm like, can't wait to like
You're
not.
like, ah.
Yeah, I need to get out, and like freedom and creativity and spontaneity, those are my values. But for somebody like the grounded guardian, that's not. They're like, they want stability, consistency, comfort. Like, there's somebody who loves living in the suburbs usually, or like a small town. They want to know all the
They
neighbors.
never left their hometown.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And
Yeah.
to me, I'm
Okay.
like, I that sounds like my nightmare. But
Yeah.
to somebody else,
Totally.
that's their
Yeah.
abundant life. So
Yeah.
that's why I have this quiz, is because once you know, because some people don't even realize that like what they want is different from what other people want. Because once you understand what you want, then you can start to surround yourself with the people, the ideas, the information, all the resources that you need in order to create this abundant life. Because if you got a free spirit and a grounded guardian together, one wants to stay home on a Friday night and watch movies, and the other one probably wants to go out. So you know what I mean? It becomes a helpful
Yeah.
tool
Totally.
for
Totally.
people to see that. So I'll be
Hmm.
including that quiz in
Yeah, that'll be awesome. I'm like, ooh, which one am I gonna be? Is there anything else you want folks to know before we um sign off for today?
um I would say, I mean, definitely take the quiz. And
Mm.
take the quiz and share your results on my Instagram page. Like, tag me on
Oh
Instagram.
yeah, yeah, yeah. What's your
My Instagram handle is the underscore abundance babe. So,
Ooh, yeah, you are. Love it.
so
Okay,
tag
the
me on,
underscore abundance babe. So
yes.
tag you and I'll do the first one. I'll post my abundance archetype. Awesome. That'll be fun.
Yeah, that will be cool. Well, thanks for
Cool.
having me on today.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thanks so much. Cool.
Okay. Let me get Jessica on here. I think we might have a problem with our Zoom link. Good. Um, you on my phone, and I think we'll be able to hear you on the Zoom recording as well, which I'm going to upload later to YouTube for folks who want to hear all the goodness. It was really fun to re-listen. I don't know if you got to listen to the whole thing. Besides just being mortified by my voice. Well, that's everybody. Oh, I know. Everyone listens to their voice and enjoys the experience of it. It's so just so painful. It gets easier over time. It's humbling. Yeah, it continues to be, even though like during COVID, I was in charge of customer experience training and recorded so many webinars, it's still just, yeah. Really? But, oh, yeah, you do rock abundance, babe. Uh-oh. I lost you. Looks like Jessica dropped off. She should be back on in a second. And while I wait for her, I'm gonna pull up a few questions that I got over email for her. There she is. She's hopping back on. Hey, Jessica. I think we're having some connectivity issues. There you are. Okay, great. So, I was just saying I had a couple questions come in for you. But Great. I also just want to give you the opportunity to address anything that, after rewatching, was there anything that like came up for you that you're like, oh, I want to add this, or I don't know. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I do. And I always have. I knew you would. I mean, the thing that I'm focused on right now is the fact that we're deep into winter. In Boulder, Colorado, which is where you and I are both located, there's tons of snow on the ground. Yeah. Here, let's see if we can get can you see it? Yeah. It's, snowy. It's that time of the year where we're, getting messages from the outside that we need to be doing a lot and we need to be achieving a lot and setting goals and this and doing that. And just with the theme of abundance, it's like part of receiving is being able to tap into rest and reflection. And this is a really sacred time of the year for people to really tune into themselves, understand their needs, understand their wants, their desires. The setting goals thing, I love it. I think this is a great time to set goals. It's not necessarily the best time of the year to act on it. So the values worksheet and the abundance archetype quiz are really good tools for people to use right now as they step into a new year and they envision and reimagine, who do I want to become this year? This is the time to dream about that. But you dream from your couch, you dream from your bed. You're not, you don't need to go out and do all this crazy stuff and like totally rearrange your whole life. Like this is the time to really rest and receive. So that's the only thing I wanted to add. Yeah, to that. I love that. It really resonates with my 3-hour nap I took yesterday. That's amazing. My body was just like, and you're sleeping now. I was like, okay, no, noted. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so I feel that. I feel that. Okay, so one of the questions that came in was, how do I deal with feeling guilty about wanting more in life? That is such a good question. I had to zoom in on my face. I know. I love when you do that. Same thing right now. So the question is basically, how do I deal with the fact that I always want more, right? And I actually just did a meditation this morning for one of my clients on exactly this idea. And what I created was a walking meditation because most people, if you just say, sit down, sit up straight, like, that's really difficult. Yeah. Very difficult. Yeah. So, and this is something you're already aware of because you're the one with a PhD in neuroscience, but dopamine is the driver of the future. Like we're very future driven. We're always like in that kind of like
I don't want to say dopamine addiction, but we crave
I think
that
that's fair.
dopamine is only focused on the future. So this person asking this question is like, how do I help myself from always wanting more? It's not a bad thing to want more, but it sounds like this person and many other people, like including me, can get stuck in this like dopamine addiction loop where you just want more, just for the sake of wanting more because it's such a good feeling. It's gratifying. It's literally it lights up the rewards.
But then you feel guilty because it's kind of like hollow.
Yes.
Or it's never going to get you there. It's just there's no there there.
There's no there. Exactly. Yeah. So I have to remember the title of this book, but I read a book about dopamine that basically says there are future molecules about planning, and then there's the here and now molecules. And those are things like serotonin, oxytocin. Can't remember what no, not epinephrine. What's the opioid receptor one?
It's been over a decade.
Oh, really? Okay, that's funny. But
I'm like GABA? I don't think it's GABA. Maybe it's GABA.
That was probably related to it.
We'll put it in the notes.
Yeah, the point here is that you want to engage. So that to help with the guilt, you want to engage in more here and now activities. So anything that will get your sensory experience online, like to engage in smell or taste or listening to really good music, hugging somebody for 15 seconds. These really simple mindfulness practices can help people shift out of guilt and start to enjoy the here and now. So really engaging in your senses and honestly just taking 3 deep breaths every single day is a really good start.
Okay. I love that. I've definitely agree when I've done those things, it's helped me. So that makes sense. We might have time for one or two more questions. So let me look at the ones I got in and I'll try to prioritize them. Uh, what's your advice for maintaining abundance when life throws curveballs?
Yeah, that's like
so life. What do you do about life?
One curveball after another. Yeah. So how do you maintain abundance when life throws you a curveball? What's helped me recently is leaning into trust. Like I now have, I'm turning 30 in March.
Baby, so like you little baby.
In your 20s, you don't know.
But when you're turning 30, it feels like, every time you hit a milestone, it's a milestone.
It's a milestone, but I feel like what happens when you turn 30 is you have now context. You have some life experience under your belt. So I don't know how old the person is who asked this question, but I know that I've been able to reflect on the last 10 years and say, okay, every single time there was a curveball, it always worked out in my favor. And sometimes it took a year, sometimes 2 years to realize that it was a blessing in disguise. So this person who's saying, like, how do I handle the curveballs? 2 things. One, I would look at your past and say, when have you encountered a curveball, a major, maybe even crisis, that ended up turning out to be the best thing possible? Like 10 years ago, 11 years ago, my family and we lost our house. I mentioned this in the interview because of the 2008 financial crisis. Best thing that ever happened to me. But it took me 8 years to figure out that it was a blessing. So there's one part is reflect on the past and when that has happened and turned out to be a blessing. And then 2 is just leaning into trust. And just, if you want to use mantra, you want to use prayer, you want to use journaling, just like rewriting and reciting over and over again that you trust that this is exactly what needs to happen. And even if you don't believe it, it's just telling yourself until you feel it in your bones.
Yep. I love that. Okay, I think we could maybe squeeze in one more. How do I let go of comparison when I see others living the life I want?
These are really good questions. I think comparison is a gift. I think comparison is not the thief of joy. Contrary to what you may have have heard out there. It's when you compare yourself to someone and you feel jealous
it means there's a desire. And I think part of living abundantly is honoring the things that you desire. Now, there might be a layer underneath that, like, do I desire that because I think it'll make me feel good? Or do I desire that because I just want it? You know what I mean? Like, I just want it, or do I want the how people are going to perceive me if I have, like, there's kind of like two layers to that. So if you want something, I say don't deny yourself of that. Will it take you 5 years? Will it take you a career change? Will it take maybe dramatic amount of effort? Sure. But I think those barriers to entry are the things that actually test us to say, do you actually want this? Do you want the outcome and the journey, or do you just want the outcome? I know. That reminds me of like people when I went to study abroad. I still think about this. My friends were like, "Oh, I wish I could do this." And I was like, "You have way more money than I do. Your family's loaded. Like, there's nothing stopping you." But they didn't really want it, you know. So it's like, yeah, it is a test, I think. Yeah. Oh, I could just talk to you for hours, you know that. Yeah. But I have to stop for another meeting. But I will just say that I'm gonna post the live on my Instagram, and you can too if you're able to. I don't know how it works. I'm not super savvy. Yeah, and then the YouTube will also get posted on the Planted Yogi, and I'll provide there the links to the quiz and other items that were discussed in the interview. And there will be a podcast coming out with the full interview. So if people liked it and you want more, the Planted Yogi podcast is going to come out in just a couple weeks. So yeah, all the good things are coming. So I appreciate your time today, Jessica, and more good things to come. Yeah, thanks for having me on. This was a lot of fun. Bye. Okay.